pleasant good evening, good evening, good evening. This is your Senator and servant, Carla Joseph, welcoming you to another segment of On Point, my radio program heard every other Tuesday here on the People Station, WSTA, from 6 o'clock p.m. to 6:30 p.m. I just want to say happy Black History Month. And really, this is a really wonderful month. It's the shortest month of the year, but we are all ecstatic about Black history here in the Virgin Islands, as well as next month, the month of March, will be Virgin Islands History Month, which is a great time. Before I get into the show this evening, of course, we're going to invite our listening audience to give us a call here in WSTA Radio. The number here is 774-1340. That's 774-1340. I want to also really let the listening public know that today was a very momentous day, especially for our retirees. I know you recall that on January 31st, we, the legislature, signed Bill number 34-0188 and voted on that bill. And today, the governor had the actual signing of that legislation into law. And that legislation, 34-0188, is the Matching Fund Special Purpose Securitization Act of 2022. This act, now signed, helps us as a community assure that we still have the revenue coming in for our elders. It stopped the bleeding of the GRS system. GRS said that they were going to be insolvent by the year 2024. I served on the subcommittee for GRS, restructuring, solvency, and economic development, and I had that opportunity to serve, give input, make changes. It was a lot of work, and I'm not going to complain about it. I enjoyed every aspect of it, and so we could deliver for our people, especially for our retirees, knowing that if we weren't able to resolve this issue, that we would still be in a position wherein our economy would have been adversely affected. We would have businesses that may be going out of business, all of those things. But we were able to do that. Our elders, our seniors have worked very hard for us to be here, and we could do nothing less than assure that their futures and our futures for those who are current Tier 1 employees is secure. And that's what we did. We secured the future for our retirement system and our retirees. I had the pleasure of standing beside two retirees, a former commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, I believe that's what they named them, but it's now called the Police Department, Milton Beaufret, and also a former principal of an educator of our public school here in St. Thomas, Miss Ivy B. Williams. What a fantastic day. What a historical day. It was great all around, and I'm just thankful for the people of the Virgin Islands for having that level of confidence in your elected officials to get this job done. So really, it was a very exciting morning that we started off with, and making sure that this critical and historical legislation was passed and signed, and it was just totally euphoria. I really am thankful to be a part of that history. And also, just to let you know, we do have a committee, the committee that I chair, the Committee on Government Operations and Consumer Protection, we are going to be doing a tour of the Virgin Islands Fire Services facilities. Two of the union representatives have consistently lobbied me and my office to conduct these tours. They said it's required, and so keeping my word to these two fine gentlemen, Mr. Dorsey from the St. Thomas district as well as Mr. Adams, we have scheduled the tour, and the tour is scheduled for the St. Croix district on February 11th. That's this coming Friday, February 11th. And the St. Thomas district tour is scheduled for February 23rd. So we want to see what is all happening at the fire services, and hats off to all of our first responders for doing a wonderful job, and just keep the good work up. Don't stop, don't get weary, just keep pushing, and try your very best to serve our people. I know it's not easy, and sometimes you think it's a thankless job and occupation and path career, but know that there are many of us who depend on you. We respect you and we love you so much, and all the hard work that you've been doing over the years, and especially in light of the pandemic. So that's one of the things we really want to talk about too, is this upcoming tour of the Virgin Islands Fire Services facility. We want to see what is happening right there where our firemen and women are working. We want to see how they are managing with the pandemic, what is some of the challenges that they are experiencing, and what are some of the good things that they are experiencing too. But we need to have a good look-see, not just out there on the peripheral. With all of that being said, I have with me a special guest, and he is not necessarily a first responder, but him and I worked for a number of years in the trenches. We did some collaboration, and one of the things that I really appreciated about him is that we were able to have discussion. We even served on a committee on the government level at one time. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Scott Bradley from My Brother's Workshop. Good evening, Scott.
Good evening, Senator Joseph. It's an honor to be here, and it's also a special honor to be here on this historic day with you. Solving the GERS problems it's no small feat, and I hope this actually goes down the history books for you. So, My Brother's Workshop, we've been around about 15 years now. And
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it seems like just yesterday, but we started out on a street corner down on Back Street, and now we have a facility in Tutu Park Mall. We have a training cafe and bakery on Back Street. We have a workshop in St. Croix. We have a school and office and simulator center down on in the Grand Galleria building. But and we service about 150 kids a year. We started serving a lot of the population in the beginning based on violence. We were trying to we were giving kids that get into trouble a new path, new training so they can get a job. But over the years we've expanded. We include now a lot of kids with mental health issues and disabilities. We work with autistic young people, schizophrenic youth, and a lot of various disabilities. So we've expanded quite a bit.
That's great. So I know you have expanding your offerings, the type of services you provide. I know also that you work with Department of Labor, also Department of Education, Department of Human Services. Those are the three critical services that the government offer that addresses young people issues who are having behavioral issues, educational issues where they're not seeing them progress, they're not graduating, and the like. So some of the questions I wanted to ask you and why I invited you on board is that I know that over the years that the government has been very supportive.
Mhm.
You've gotten allotments
Okay.
from the legislature over the year. And have you been getting your allotments, the monies that have been allotted and appropriated to you when you requested them?
We've been pretty satisfied. I mean, we know that times are tough, and they haven't always been on time, but they've been pretty. We can't complain about it. The
Okay.
government support.
Good. And let me ask you, recently you had a graduation,
Mhm.
and how many students have you graduated for this year, and then overall? If you
Overall-
could give us a round number.
Right. The overall, I believe, is in the 60 to 70 students. The last graduation we had, I believe, was like 19.
Mhm.
But with the COVID, it's made it been challenging just for the public school system. But we're still engaged. They're just moving a little bit slower.
Right, right.
But,
And so what are some of you mentioned that you have your bakery that's located in Back Street.
Mhm.
Tell us about that. How did that come about?
Well, that came about by wanting to expand, just not construction skills, but other skills that kids were looking for. Because we're constantly polling the children and seeing what they want, not just what we want to teach. So there was a lot of interest in culinary arts, the service industry, things like that. It allowed a lot more, because a lot more young ladies were interested in that, and young men as well. I mean, we have probably a 60-40 mix in there.
Okay, good.
But again, prior you mentioned that we're not really a first responder, but our operations, like right after the hurricanes, that little cafe fed 37,000 people, on a daily basis, going from not planning that to planning it. But our new facilities are going to plan for a lot more.
And where are you talking about a new facility? Where is your new facility going to be
Well,
located?
the new facility is directly behind Home Depot. It's on that road that's right between the solar farm and a lot of people know it as the old drive-in theater.
Yes.
Yeah, so
So it's not the one that's across the street where you see a lot of construction?
no.
So
That's
it's further up the street?
well, it doesn't go. It takes a left right behind Home Depot.
Okay,
Yeah, and
okay.
we have 4 acres back there, and we have
Okay.
about 60,000 square feet of educational space.
So it's behind, like when you're going to that development
Yes.
up there,
Before you get to the development.
right before you get to the development. Okay,
Sure.
I have a really good
Yeah.
understanding of
Mhm.
where it's going to be located.
Yeah.
So how big is this? Is 600?
I'm sorry.
How big will the facility be?
Well, the facility, there'll be 3 facilities, basically. There'll be one that houses an industrial kitchen that
Mhm.
not only teaches culinary arts, but also teaches food processing for the
Mhm.
farmers,
Okay,
and to include juices, jams, preserves, and also products that can go on the supermarket shelf, as in breads. And
okay.
that's going to be about, to give you an idea, our present kitchen, average kitchen is about 1,000 square feet. This
Mhm.
kitchen is going to be about between 7,000 and 10,000 square feet.
Okay,
And it'll be able to, like, in that same situation, in case of emergency, we'd be able to feed the entire island, every day.
oh.
We'd
with-
have that
with-
kind of capacity.
With just the bakery?
With the kitchen, the industrial kitchen.
Okay, with the industrial kitchen. So what do you envision that you'll be serving? Because you have the industrial kitchen, you just be serving regular meals like a restaurant?
Well, actually, in that facility too is a 400-seat event space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you could have a wedding, you could have government meetings there, you could have all kinds of, different kinds of meetings. And then you have educational space where there's classrooms. There'll be over 10,000 square feet of classrooms.
Okay,
So there'll be, and then the simulator center. And that's just for that building. The next building is a 20,000 square foot workshop so we'll be teaching everything from machine shop, tool and die, auto repair, marine program. We already have one, but we're going to make one that's a lot bigger.
okay, you're gonna expand the services there.
Yeah, everything will be expanded. And we're also, the difference with this facility is we're also going to have night courses. So you'll be able to workforce development, if your first part of your career didn't go well and you want to change your career, you can come at night class and learn to be an electrician or plumber or whatever.
Okay, cool. And are you going to be, so you have the marine industry
Mm-hmm.
covered, you have hospitality,
Yeah.
and and you have culinary, and of course, my favorite is construction.
Mhm.
Yeah, you have that covered.
Yep.
And are we looking at anything relative to healthcare now? We had on our show previously
Mhm.
a lady who's doing some dynamic things in healthcare. She has her own business, and it's a grassroots business too.
Yeah.
Her name is Velma Freeman, and she does actually preparing and teaching young people to become, and any person rather,
Mhm.
certified nurse assistants.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
CNAs.
Oh, I could very definitely see us going in that direction as well. We also have built-in mental health programs for counseling and everything, but that would definitely be, we wouldn't go any further beyond CNA, but
Mhm.
that would be a limit, because beyond that, you need a lot more.
Yes, you're gonna need a
Yeah.
lot more
Yeah.
teachers with credentials who are qualified to be able to
Yes.
teach that type of career pathway, so
Mhm.
that when the students finish
Yeah.
and complete, they're able to study and get their nurse licensure
Yeah.
and all of those things. Definitely, you're gonna
Yeah.
need a higher level. Now, I wanted to ask you, you're talking just about St. Thomas District. What is happening in the St. Croix District?
In St. Croix District, we have two great administrators over there, two great
Mhm.
leadership. We're building up our thing. That's been a little bit slower because of the COVID and the other things. Unfortunately, having them so far away is not, I've made 87 trips over there so far
Mhm.
in just a few years, so. But we're building all the same services over there. They just received their simulated chairs, so you can learn to be a backhoe operator. Plus, they have this, pretty much the same equipment that you have here. They're just a little bit smaller right now.
Right.
So it all comes down to having the right people, and you really got to look around for the right people.
I know.
You know that business.
I know you. Sometimes you have to find that person who is really passionate and who can really provide the services.
Mhm.
Because especially when you're providing the type of services that you provide and that I used to provide when I was at Youthville, because you're dealing with transforming young people and giving them a real opportunity to change their life and change their trajectory. And sometimes they call you not about the work, not about the academic work, but some of the social issues that they're encountering. And so you have to have the right people in place that will answer the call
Mhm.
when it comes really late at night
Yep.
and still be able to address that issue. So
Yeah.
that's part of the critical type of services and the people that you need.
Yeah.
This can't be anyone who is a robot doing this kind of work.
No,
It
actually.
has to be real life, passionate, driven human beings doing this type of work.
Yeah,
And so-
you're kind of born to this. You're not really, we can't teach you that part.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
the two gentlemen we have over there now is Eddie Martinez. He's a retired fireman and
Mhm.
National Guard person, and he's just got the perfect mentality for it. Yeah.
Right.
And Jimmy, he's also retired Justice Department. So,
Okay, good.
and they just love kids, and they also love rules, and they love keeping order.
And I'm huge with rules
Yeah.
and huge with time and huge with keeping order, because if we go against keeping order in any type of setting and having that structure is critical.
Absolutely.
Structure for us as human beings is very important. Without the level of structure, you have anarchy
Mhm.
and you have a whole bunch of disorder, and then we have a level of unrest and people can't have any peace. So that keeping structure is very critical. I always stress it. I always stress about structure and definitely about order as well, so that to make sure that those are things that we are in place. Now, let's talk about the academic component that you offer at My Brother's Workshop. And before you go into that, let me remind the listening audience, if you want to be a part of this conversation this evening, or you want to talk to me about any issue, you can please give us a call here at WSTA Radio at 774-1340. That's 774-1340. Okay.
Okay.
Scott, talk to me a little bit about the educational component.
Well, we have a few different components. We have one which is a traditional NCCER,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you probably would agree with me on this. We found a lot of kids that actually didn't qualify for the program because their reading and writing skills were,
Yes.
math skills were so low.
It's very low.
So we created a performance-based, more of an apprenticeship style program where it's all hands-on, it's evaluated by trained people, and that gives them another, it's a slower pace, but it's more thorough pace. So you're not trying to teach somebody or trying to have them read out of a book when obviously they can't. But we also have introducing the simulators where we're actually having them do work on state-of-the-art simulators where they can learn to drive a Ford truck, a Bobcat, a backhoe, and then we'll take them out in the field and do so we get all the bugs out before we give them something that could break something. So.
Right. And when we're looking at the literacy and numeracy level, the low numeracy and literacy levels that we have with our clients and the clients you serve and the clients I used to serve at Youthville, we look at mechanism that we could help definitely, increase that. I know you offer high school diplomas.
Right.
And tell us a little bit about that, how that is being offered.
We have a Penn Foster program, but we find that you need to add the extras. There's no getting away some one-on-one teaching, some one-on-one mentorship.
Precisely.
Yeah, you can't just leave it to the program alone. If you do that, then you're not going to be as successful. They're not going to test out any better than they tested in. But if you get there and you identify their needs, like in the trades, math is everything. You have to have a strong math. And as long as you put it in terms that they can understand, they can grasp it. They can tell you how many tiles you need for the floor. They can tell you how many studs. But you have to put that extra effort in.
Right.
So these programs that are like online programs, they only work if you have a whole set of people behind that, helping them with their math, helping them with their English, not letting them take the easy way out.
Right, and letting them understand the real concepts that you are working with. What we did, we integrated it into our curriculum at Youthville. We integrated the math with the measuring, so we would teach them proportions.
Right.
And so that when they go into the field with a construction, they know how to use a measuring tape and use proportion and fractions and the like.
Yeah.
That helps because now they're seeing the relevance. So that's what sound like you have some parts of that in there so that they can actually see the relevance. I think what happens to some of our learners is they're not able to make the connection. There's a disconnect. They don't see the relevance of what they're learning in the theories. How is that going to help them with the practical? And so it's our responsibility based on their learning levels to definitely help them connect those dots.
Right, because that's a lot of what we do. I'm a retired engineer from manufacturing, and I work with a lot of companies that have real old-fashioned apprenticeships. And the way apprenticeships are successful is you spend a portion of the day working in the factory that you'd be trying to get a job in. It might be a machinist apprentice, or you might be a electrical apprentice, or whatever.
Right.
So you have practical work, and then you have study work. Because with the practical work, the study work makes sense.
Yes.
And you can they'll embrace it. It's not like those two trains that leave in opposite directions and you wanted to find out what the conductor's name is or something.
Right.
But so for 5.5 hours or 5 hours right now, it's going to go to 4 hours. They're going to do practical simulated work environment where we actually make products and they learn about sale and merchandising and construction and design and all that. And then they go the other half of the day for the education part. And even if they have a high school diploma, if they don't test well in math, they're going to have to take math.
Yes, you do, because, and they shouldn't be reluctant to take the math because that helps them build up their numeracy skills, and they could turn, when they become parents, if they're not already parents, they turn around to help their children in math.
Absolutely.
And it helps build their whole family. So that's why I always look at programs such as yours, programs such as the Boys and Girls Club.
Big fan.
They are community-oriented programs which help low-income people, especially people who are disadvantaged, disconnected from society, become more so connected and help their trajectory increase.
Yep.
rather than just being in that doldrum and downtrodden. And two, the good thing about it is it also is a crime preventative mechanism.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things I really want to stress. That these type of programs are crime preventative mechanism, because we know that once people are educated, they have a lower chance of committing a crime. Okay, and their families now, even that is decreased. So this is why it's very critical for us to look at those type of community-oriented programs wherein they're providing social services, tutorial services, and the like, and support them as much as possible. So Scott, how can anyone who's interested in enrolling their child or themselves in my brother's workshop, how can they contact you?
We'll do two different things. They can either show up at any of our facilities and get an application, or they can call 715-2769, and they'll be directed to whatever facility and whoever that will do the interview.
Okay, and repeat that number again.
The number is 715-2769.
715-2769.
That's correct.
Okay, our phone lines are still open, and if anyone, based on what we're discussing this evening, which is of course training opportunity, I'm huge on training, and they want to call my office, you can give us a call at 340-693-3515. Again, that number is 340-693-3515. You can also email me at Senator Carla Joseph at ledgevi.org, and visit my website at senatorcarlajoseph.com, and also my Facebook page at Senator Carla J. Joseph. I know you have a Facebook page too for my brother's workshop. You want to put it out there?
Yeah, it's an easy one. It's my brother's workshop.org, and that will give you it'll lead you through what we do, where we are, some about the different programs, and some about our past projects, so you can get to see us. I just always want to emphasize that we're just going old school. We're going back to the basics, and that's what our kids need.
Yeah, educating, some people that have it as a major science, like it's so difficult to educate or teach. Teaching is something that we all as human beings do. We just don't realize that we're teaching.
Yeah.
It's how your technique, your approach, how you connect to the students and the like. And so you're right, this is very old school to be able to train people and teach them. It starts first in the home, and then it expands to the community too, as far as being able to teach and give people an opportunity to learn. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's how a lot of the programs like Boys and Girls Club and YW and YMCA, those all came about after the Great Depression, when they were going through the same problems with their youth that we are right now. And they just, Eleanor Roosevelt figured out, they would ask a study, it was when they first created Department of Human Services. That's what they figured out. You need to invest in your kids. If you do that, you don't have the problems. But the problem is when money gets tight, that's one of the first things that gets cut, is the support.
True. And that's why you need a level of community involvement, not just, getting the money, but also persons who are committed to doing the work. And we talked about that, having a mindset, having that level of spirit, and just having that passion and that drive to be able to really get people involved and continue to provide the supports which for the young people. We are almost coming down to the close of our time, so I just want to say thank you again, and to the listening audience, if you want to get in contact with my brother's workshop, which operates both in St. Thomas, St. John District, and the St. Croix District, contact them at 715-2769. We're almost out of time, And before we go, I want to definitely say a big shout out to one of my former neighbors at Bovoni Housing Community, Cora Tom. And she's not doing that well, and I just ask everyone to definitely pray for her. And thank you, my thanks to Scott Bradley for joining us this evening. We will be in touch. And thank you, listening audience, for joining us again for another segment of On Point. Thank you to my staff and also to my Joseph Action Committee members. And a big thank you to you, the listening audience, for listening to us this evening. You can join us for On Point here on WSTA Radio, heard every other Tuesday from 6 to 6:30 p.m. So when I say every other Tuesday, that means our next segment will be on February 22nd, which is a great day. And I'll tell you why when we join on February 22nd for On Point. Thank you so much. And we are so thankful for everything. And like, this is a really great day. Started off fantastic at the Government House with the signing of Bill 34-0188, and here we are ending it out tonight. So we're really happy that we were able to have On Point this evening. Again, join us for another segment of On Point.